Hello world, it's Vagabond here and welcome to this brand new video. In this episode I'm going to travel across the lovely country of Serbia, all the way across the country from its northern region of Vojvodina, where we are currently at, up to its southern cities. The journey is going to take approximately a week or two, and it's going to be split into several stages. This video will consist of several separate trips that I will do within this period of time, but you will see it as a one long video. I'm going to start my journey in the city of Subotica. This is the second largest city in the autonomous province of Vojvodina. The peculiarity of Subotica was that before 2023 this city was primarily populated by Hungarians but not Serbs. So Subotica and its surrounds formerly belonged to Austro-Hungarian Empire. At the beginning of 20th century it was included into the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, and during the Second World War for 3 years it was annexed again by Hungary, then kind of liberated by Yugoslavian and Soviet forces, and currently this is the part of Serbia. Subotica has the population of around 90,000 people, if you don't count agglomerations of nearby settlements of Subotica. 1/3 of the population are Hungarians, another third of the population are Serbs. The rest percentage of population belong to different nationalities. Due to the fact that Subotica is on 1/3 Hungarian, so Hungarian culture is pretty widespread here, especially the language. So we can see public signs in two languages, in Serbian and Hungarian, pretty much everywhere. Also, Hungarian language is spoken by this 1/3 of the population, which means that you can hear it pretty much everywhere in the city. I noticed that the city of Subotica has pretty decent biking infrastructure. There is a lot of biking lanes that are actively used by locals. I have just reached Subotica railway station, which is experiencing complete reconstruction. Actually, this is the reconstruction of the railway stretch between Subotica and Novi Sad, which is going to become a high-speed railway. The reconstruction of the railway is conducted by some Chinese investors and Chinese workers. By the end of 2024 they are planning to open this stretch of the railway line, and this is the part of the huge project which is supposed to connect Belgrade and Budapest, Hungary, by the high-speed railway. Basically the railway line splits the city into two parts, the old and new one. So the old town of Subotica was developing in times of Austro-Hungarian Empire. At the same time the outskirts of the city were actively developing in times of Yugoslavia. Okay, we are approaching the very center of Subotica by following this pedestrian street, exclusively like pedestrian zone, so we can enjoy the surrounding area, this lovely Hungarian architecture. We are entering the central square of Subotica, which is marked by this lovely town hall, constructed in the architectural style of Art Nouveau between 1907 and 1910, so the beginning of 20th century. And this is a new building of the local theater, which is actually new, even though it was constructed in accordance with the project of the old theater, which was demolished in the year of 2007, which caused some arguments between like locals and local authorities, because they didn't really like the fact that they completely demolished the old theater and constructed new one instead of it. But let me tell you that this kind of reconstruction is actually nice. I wouldn't even guess that this is the new building, like completely new one, if I did not know the background of this construction. Well, the best part of the town hall is actually the tower with clocks, so it's like a clock tower, and apparently there is some kind of the panoramic viewpoint on the city, so let's try to get there. And also the town hall is remarkable by the McDonald's on the very first floor, so let's enter it and see its interior. Okay, believe it or not, but we are in Subotica McDonald's. I'm actually quite surprised that such a small city by population has its own McDonald's, but just the fact that Subotica has McDonald's and that McDonald's is situated in such a historical building is quite unusual to me personally. I like this kind of chandeliers, this old-fashioned interior. Wow, we are lucky today, we have managed to see the local celebrity. This babushka is playing on the streets of Subotica. Sometimes she even goes to some nearby towns and play there, and as you can see she gains a lot of audience. The town hall is absolutely marvelous. Even though it was constructed just at the beginning of 20th century, it actually looks older, but it's still maintained pretty well. So let's try to get inside the building and get to the observation point.
On the day of my exploration of Subotica, I wasn't able to visit the observation point in the town hall, because you can only get there once a day at noon, 5 days a week. At the same time, there is a tour of the city hall, and those who want to see Subotica from a bird's eye view can also go up to the observation point. 3 weeks later, I finally made it. The view of the city from above was impressive. You can see several attractions at once, including the cracked Cathedral of Saint Teresa. There are 2 noticeable cracks running through the church building, which appeared as a result of groundwater deformation of the foundation. During the Yugoslav era, multi-story residential buildings were built along the perimeter of the historical center of Subotica. At the same time, the city is quite green, and even in hot summer weather you can find shade almost everywhere.
As you can see, the old town of Subotica is overgrown with trees. Well, overgrown in a positive context, because it naturally creates shadow and opportunity to hide from the broiling hot sun, which is so hot here in summer. Currently the temperature is 26 degrees Celsius, which is like not even close to the hottest time in the year, because it's just the beginning of June. I believe in July and August temperatures can easily reach plus 35 and potentially 40 degrees Celsius. One of the lost Subotica's attractions is the Subotica tram network, which was constructed here under the Hungarian ownership of this territory in 1897, and it was closed in 1974, so it existed roughly more than 75 years. So the tram network was completely closed and disassembled, and there are very few markers of the existence of tram line here in the past as this kind of monument. So these are original trams that used to operate here in Subotica more than 50 years ago. Another remnant of the past Subotica tram system. Look at this sign. This is the sign of the tram stop, and basically this biking lane is situated on the place where tram tracks were located in the past. Just spotted the monument to the victims of fascism. Well, this territory of Subotica and Vojvodina in general was occupied by Hungarian forces that joined the coalition with Hitler. In times of the Second World War, this territory was occupied by Hungary between 1941 and 1944 until it was liberated by Yugoslavian and Soviet forces. But at the same time, we must be thankful to Hungarians that they constructed such a beautiful city. Well, it looks so European and lovely. Even though Hungary borders Serbia, the languages, Serbian and Hungarian languages, are completely different, and there is barely any similarity. Serbian language is a Slavic language, and as a Russian speaker I can understand approximately 50% of Serbian language without even learning it. When it comes to Hungarian, well, we see the Finno-Ugric language, which is completely different thing, you know. Actually, a lot of local population speak Hungarian and Serbian as well simultaneously, but for me it's way easier to learn Serbian than Hungarian. Another masterpiece of Subotica's architecture is the building of synagogue. It was constructed in 1902 by the same architect who designed the building of town hall. Somehow the synagogue survived the Second World War intact. Let me show you the interior of this wonderful building. The interior of the synagogue is also exciting. Look at this. Look at this. It's like from the fairy tale. The synagogue is actually huge. We can even enter the second floor of the building to enjoy the panoramic view on the whole. Alright, I have just left the old town of Subotica, and currently I am walking the alley of Marshal Tito, an important figure in Yugoslavian history. His real name was Josip Broz. He was basically the Yugoslav revolutionary who was the president of Yugoslavia, and one of the key figures of anti-fascism resistance in Yugoslavia. This is the mural to Tijana Juric. She was a 15-year-old Serbian girl from Subotica who was murdered in one of the villages of Vojvodina. She was kidnapped and murdered, and then her body was found in one of the dumps far away from Subotica. So having left the old town of Subotica, we can clearly see the difference in the architecture of different parts of the city. In the new part where we are currently, there are even some new constructions, like new high-rises of pretty decent design. Anyway, this district doesn't seem to be rich on some interesting locations, so I have just shown it to you. Let's get some groceries and probably move to another place. This is the second day in Subotica. My friend Alex has just joined me, and today we are planning some more activities near this city. So currently we are walking towards Subotica airfield to try gliding. Basically we are going to fly the engineless aircraft in the vicinity of Subotica. Airfield of Subotica is situated 10 kilometers out of the city in the fields of Vojvodina, and all of these fields are actually the bottom of the ancient Pannonian Sea that disappeared approximately 1 million years ago. International airport of Subotica. Cheap flights to Dortmund, Germany. Ivan.
Ruski, ruski čuču.
Dobra.
Imamo samo neku dokumentaciju popunimo.
Okay. You know, when you enter the runway and to get to the airport you frequently take bus. This time in Subotica we are taking the car to our aircraft. Basically we are already on the territory of the airfield. This must be the runway. So this is probably the thing that pulls this kind of wires, so it basically accelerates the aircraft because it's engineless and it has to be accelerated somehow.
I mi kada budemo spremni,
Da.
on upali vitlo i velikom brzinom nam otava sajlu i povuče nas gore.
Da,
I mi kada se otkačimo sa sajle, da ne bi sajla pala dole da se umrsi, onda parašut služi za sajlu da polako ide dole sajlu.
So basically this is the parachute for this wire, because when we will take off, the wire will disconnect from the aircraft, and to prevent it from like drastic falling to the ground, it is connected to this kind of parachute. Okay, Alex is about to take off in a couple of minutes. I will actually have to help them, so I will have to carry this kind of wing horizontally. Then I will leave it and they will basically take off somehow. Jesus wept, it was so fast! Oh! No way! It took off in a couple of seconds! Oh my god! I wonder if Alex will be able to manipulate the plane at some point, because he also has his like stick controller, but he's flying with the pilot in the back seat. Whoa, the guys have just landed. The whole flight took around 15 minutes, maybe 20. Он невероятно быстро разогнался.
Вообще просто жесть.
О, да?
Оп. Ноги можешь внуtra. Slobodno, skroz pružino. Так. Когда будем išli da slećemo, onda ti samo uhvatiš ovako.
Он сам будет управлять, то есть ее не обязательно держать. Надо будет просто тормоз
Вот
нажать.
тут,
Da, možno da, silno. Da. I ovako.
Да, и типа расслабить, и он сам будет управлять.
Окей.
Ovo nam je brzina, speed, visina i vertical speed.
Dobro.
Da li idemo gore? Vitlo 5396 za teže. 5396 poletanje.
Okay, currently we are flying. Holy moly.
Evo ga,
Aha.
otpečeli smo se.
Sajla otpuštena, da?
Da, da.
Okay, we are flying above the vicinity of Subotica, above the surrounding fields. We probably follow the airflow at this point. I do not actually control anything, so the pilot is on the back seat. And this is the view that we can enjoy. The city is over there. We can also enjoy the Lake Palić from here. It's over there, the largest lake in Serbia. This is the runway.
Može kočnica.
Brake?
Da.
So the flights are now to be pretty short because of the wind, but it still was so enjoyable. Apparently the wind in the airfield has just died down, and that was the reason why we didn't manage to keep the height enough to fly. So we were gradually descending. There were no airflows coming like upstairs, and that's why Alex flew longer than me. But it's fine, especially for the first time.
The next day I went to Novi Sad, the largest city in Vojvodina and the second largest city in Serbia. I decided to hitchhike from Subotica to Novi Sad. Overall, I was able to do it pretty quickly. Near Subotica there is a road connecting Belgrade with Budapest. From Subotica you can reach Novi Sad by car in just an hour, and Belgrade can be reached in less than 2 hours.
Alright, exploration of Serbia goes on. We have already explored Subotica, and today I'm visiting the city of Novi Sad, which is basically the biggest city in Vojvodina province. Okay, right now we are on the main street of Novi Sad, way more busy than Subotica, but once again the city itself is 4 times bigger by population. So the old town is on the left, some bedroom districts are on the right. We are heading towards the old town of Novi Sad. Look at this painting. It illustrates a boy carrying some apples, a dog, and someone carrying earth. The entrance to the old town is marked by the monument to Novi Sad tram. So in the past, in Novi Sad, as well as in Subotica, there was some kind of a tram network which disappeared, probably in times of Yugoslavia as well. The only thing that we can find here that reminds us of tram service in Novi Sad is the monument to the tram. Well, probably this is some kind of the cafeteria right now. Well, probably the most recognizable attraction in the old town of Novi Sad is the Roman Catholic Church that we are currently witnessing. It is surrounded by classic old European buildings, and that's the feature of the old town of Novi Sad. If you walk, let's say 10-20 minutes away from here, you will see the ordinary Serbian city. However, in the very center of Novi Sad there are as well quite European vibes. Well, there is not that much things to do aside from just sightseeing in the center of Novi Sad, so let's just enjoy a couple of basic sites and then move to some other interesting locations of the city. I think it's high time to have a lunch, so let's find something eatable. Okay, here we are in the restaurant. I just got the menu. There is quite a lot of cuisines, let me tell you. They are relatively affordable, so standard prices for a cheap restaurant here in Serbia. I will probably order the schnitzel or something and a glass of beer. It's actually the weirdest schnitzel I've ever seen in my life. But, well, it's still a schnitzel with some French fries, a small piece of salad. Is it like mushrooms? Probably the sauce. And yeah, a glass of beer. So all in all, it cost me 900 dinars, which is approximately 8 euros. Anyway, we are gradually leaving the main part of Novi Sad and we are entering the town of Petrovaradin, which might be actually the district of Novi Sad. It has such a lovely fortress with catacombs underneath. And this is the river Danube that splits Novi Sad and Petrovaradin. And from here we can see like the foundation of the old railway bridge that was bombed by like NATO when like the whole bombardment of the country of Serbia happened in like late 90s. And there are some reminiscences from that era. The railway bridge foundation. Like in the past there was basically the railway line that crossed the Petrovaradin fortress under the fortress. So trains exited straight here in the center of the frame. They passed the Danube over this bridge and entered the city. Another view on the Danube, not the best one. The better one is from the top of the fortress, which is over there. The Petrovaradin fortress was constructed in 1692 by Austro-Hungarians, by Habsburgs, to protect the like Austro-Hungarian part from like Ottoman Empire, which occupied this area. And if you follow this kind of the trail, you will enter the portal of the old railway that actually crossed the Petrovaradin fortress under the fortress. It was digged literally into the rock. So there was the exit portal. Straight there, the railway entered the Novi Sad. It crossed Danube over the bridge, which doesn't exist anymore. And here it is. We can even see the remains of the cross ties in the ground. Look. Approximately in the center of the tunnel, we can see the change of the coverage. So here used to be the pure rock, and here starts the brick coverage of the tunnel. Another useless attempt to block the entrance to the tunnel. It would actually be better if they installed the illumination on the roof of the tunnel, like on the top, created the pedestrian path here to make it like normally walkable. That would be a great tourist attraction, 100%. So we are ended up on the opposite side of the Petrovaradin fortress, and straight here is the path leading on top of it. We have reached the panoramic point of Petrovaradin fortress. From here we can enjoy the old town of Petrovaradin, which looks exactly like other European old towns, so enjoyable. On the left is the river Danube and Novi Sad, and as you can see, the Petrovaradin is connected with Novi Sad by this bridge, basically the Varadin bridge. And the history of this bridge is peculiar because it was completely destroyed during bombardment of Yugoslavia in 1999 by NATO forces, and then restored within a couple of years.
After exploring the old town and the Petrovaradin fortress, I went to Vojvodina's most famous natural attraction, Vrsac Gora, the island mountain which forms the oldest national park in Serbia. I want to show you not the most popular, but in my opinion still significant place on Vrsac. Serbia was bombarded by NATO in 1999 as part of the Kosovo War, which was a conflict between the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, of which Serbia was a part, and the Kosovo Liberation Army, seeking independence of Kosovo. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict peacefully, including negotiations and ceasefire agreements, had failed to achieve a lasting resolution. The conflict in Kosovo led to a humanitarian crisis with widespread reports of ethnic cleansing and atrocities committed against ethnic Albanian civilians by Serbian forces. NATO intervened to halt these atrocities and protect civilians. NATO targeted various military and strategic sites across Serbia and Kosovo, aiming to degrade Yugoslavia's military capabilities and infrastructure. The bombing also included symbolic targets, such as the TV tower near Iriški Venac on Vrsac Gora, which became a significant symbol of the conflict's impact on civilian infrastructure. The justification for NATO's bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999 remains a complex and contentious issue, with varying perspectives dependent on political, humanitarian and legal viewpoints. NATO's actions were controversial in terms of the international law, as they were undertaken without explicit authorization from the United Nations Security Council. Critics argue that these undermined the principle of state sovereignty and the United Nations Charter's prohibition on the use of force, except in self-defense or with Security Council approval. There is a perception among Serbians that NATO's intervention in Kosovo was selective and hypocritical, particularly in comparison to other conflicts around the world where similar humanitarian concerns existed but did not prompt military intervention. They argue that the bombing disproportionately affected civilian areas and contributed to humanitarian suffering, rather than alleviating it. For many Serbians, Kosovo holds significant cultural, historical and religious importance as the cradle of Serbian civilization and Orthodox Christianity. They view Kosovo as an integral part of Serbia and see NATO's actions as undermining Serbia's territorial integrity and historical heritage. After visiting the destroyed television tower in Novi Sad, I wanted to see other sites that were targets of the 1999 bombing of Yugoslavia. One of the largest concentration of such places was in Belgrade, where I went from Novi Sad.
I'm about to start the exploration from the center of Belgrade and gradually move towards its outskirts. This is the ruins of the General Staff of Yugoslavia, which was bombed in 1999 by NATO forces. You can even see the actual location which was targeted by the bomb The building itself is massive and it was targeted in different places. You can see the one over here on the right side of the street. On the left is another part of these ruins. Interesting to know is that in March 2024 some news appeared that they are planning to construct the hotel on the place of this bombed general staff, and the construction of the hotel is going to be sponsored by the son-in-law of Donald Trump. So Americans actually assumed to construct the hotel here, even though America initiated the bombing of this place. Next to the ruined building of the general staff is a part of the Nemanjina street, which is used for some agitation, and currently we can see the banner which literally says Kosovo and Metohija, this is the official name of the region, is Serbia forever and never Albania. Also I see the placard glorifying Serbian army, which is not surprising to like allocate it on the ruined building of the general staff. Belgrade has its own tram network. However, being populated by approximately 2 million people, it still doesn't have its subway. I noticed that in the center of Belgrade they put two flags on some streets. On the left is the flag of Serbia actually, and on the right it's not the Russian flag, this is the flag of Republika Srpska, the region in Bosnia and Herzegovina populated primarily by Serbs. Welcome to Tašmajdan Park, one of the most peculiar parks of Belgrade. Look at that. What's this? This is the flag of Azerbaijan. What's the reason for this being here? And the reason is that Azerbaijan actually invested into the reconstruction of this park. This park is actually a strategically important location, or at least it used to be strategically important in times of the Second World War, because it is located on some kind of the hill, and inside this hill were a lot of like places to hide for military forces. But even in such a peaceful location we can find the reminiscences of the Yugoslavian war. This is the monument to the children who became victims of bombing of like Belgrade and like Yugoslavia in general. 79 children were killed during bombing. From the main alley of the park we can enjoy the view on St. Mark's Orthodox Church. Let's try to get inside it to check the interior. Wow, the church inside is so huge. However, unlike in Russian churches, I don't see incredible amount of icons on the top. There are some icons, but the walls are generally blunt, you know, they're white. Near Tašmajdan Park is a new building of radio and television center of Belgrade. It also neighbors the ruins of the previous one, which was bombed. More than 10 people died during that bombing. A photo of this place taken right after the bombing, when emergency services looking for people. We have entered the Stari Grad, or basically the old town of Belgrade, one of my favorite parts of the city because of its narrow European streets. One of the most well-known attractions of Belgrade is its fortress, Kalemegdan Fortress. From here we can enjoy the panoramic view on the estuary of Sava River, so the place where Sava River flows into Danube. In the fortress there are some kind of the ruins, archaeological site. Wow, I see people in national clothing. Looks like some kind of the festival is going to take place here. Look how beautiful they are. We are crossing the bridge from the old town to New Belgrade, so new part of the city. You can see the new residential area, which is called Belgrade Waterfront, which is under construction for the last several years. So one of the fancy neighborhoods of Belgrade. Even though I have just entered New Belgrade, it seems that I have already entered the outskirts of the city. But in fact, the location where I'm currently at is quite historical. I think this is the tower which has been recently reconstructed. Probably there is going to be the museum, but this tower is situated on the site of the former Nazi concentration camp, which was called Samište. So basically it was established by Nazi Germany during World War II. Initially it served as a detention center for Jews and later for political prisoners and resistance fighters. Operating from 1941 to 1944, the camp saw the imprisonment and deaths of thousands. Conditions were harsh, with inadequate food, poor sanitation and brutal treatment by the guards. And also, not only Serbian things were destroyed during the bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999, We are currently observing Chinese Cultural Center, a new building which was constructed on the site of the bombed Chinese embassy here in Belgrade. They installed such an interesting statue of Confucius in front of the center. And also here is the memorial to the victims of the bombing of the Chinese embassy, when it used to be the embassy. There is a lot of fresh flowers actually. Probably some Chinese delegations recently visited this memorial. Another Belgrade's neighborhood that definitely must be visited is called Zemun. It's situated north of the old town of Belgrade, and in the past it used to be the independent town. It has more like Austro-Hungarian vibes in terms of the architecture, because this part of Belgrade, of the modern day Belgrade, was developing under the rule of Austrian-Hungary basically. That's why if you walk around the streets of Zemun, you can see these kind of typical streets as you can see in Hungary or Austria, for example. And the architecture itself also reminds us of that area of Europe. Zemun is known for its observation tower, from which you can enjoy the panoramic view on this neighborhood. Also you can see the Danube river from there, and yeah, these kind of couple of churches. Right, it's high time to move to the outskirts of Belgrade. To get there, I'm planning to take famous Beovoz, or basically the local train. Local trains of Belgrade are famous for being graffitied. So that's what I was saying. In Belgrade in 2024, they still operate old Soviet trains that were constructed in Latvia. They all painted in different kinds of graffiti, and that's why I consider it a local landmark actually. These trains seem to be free for some reasons. I haven't ever seen any ticket control inside. Well, why not to take it? Well, that's the interior of this Soviet train. The great advantage of them is that windows here can be easily open, and we can enjoy the surrounding area straight from the wagon. Okay, my train has just arrived to one of the underground stations in Belgrade, because initially this system was supposed to be the subway, but they decided to construct the railway tunnel first instead. And even though there are plans to actually construct the subway in Belgrade, still some ordinary trains run under the city. Well, at some point the station looks eerie and so dark. Well, I personally like it. I mean, that's the actual atmosphere of Belgrade. Okay, I finally found the schedule of these trains. For some reasons I didn't manage to find it online, because the website that used to work properly is not working today. And it will turn out that the next train that I will have to take is going to depart in an hour. Usually trains run with the period of 30 minutes, and currently the period is 1 hour. Well, surprisingly for me, the train arrived earlier, 40 minutes earlier than I expected. Maybe the trains still run regularly on the weekdays, and I saw the schedule for the Sunday, but it's Saturday today. Okay, let's get in. Well, right, welcome to the outskirts of Belgrade. We are in the neighborhood which is called Krusevac. Close to this railway station is another location which was targeted by NATO forces during bombing of Yugoslavia in 1999. But this was the actual military facility. So let's just get there by walking through these interesting neighborhoods of Belgrade. Interesting because these neighborhoods are actually located in mountainous area. The lovely skyline of the outskirts of Belgrade. I'm staying on one of the highest places within city limits of Belgrade, on the top of Straževica hill. Straževica was the most heavily bombed part of Belgrade during the NATO bombing of Serbia in 1999. Underground Yugoslav army facilities were located here. The area was heavily militarized and heavily bombarded in 1999, almost on daily basis, including some of the largest bombs available at that time. Alright, I'm going to take one more train to the very outskirts of Belgrade, to one of the last neighborhoods within city limits. That's going to be the end of the journey around Belgrade. Maybe I will do something additionally, which I haven't planned yet. So we are currently in the neighborhood of Belgrade, which is called Resnik, and I see dozens of these kind of graffiti. They say Ratka Mladic, and Ratka Mladic actually led the Serbian army in the Republika Srpska, and in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, so he was officially recognized as the war criminal. But he's quite a prominent person here in Serbia. Even though Serbia didn't participate in the Bosnian War, those were Bosnian Serbs. Okay guys, apparently I found it. This is what I was looking for in this neighborhood. This is the cafe, which is literally called Putin, in honor of Russian president. And here is actually the portrait of Russian president. There are also some more pictures of probably Serbian military persons. Some gathering of someone, I don't know. And yeah, obviously the famous, since 2022, letter Z. It literally says in Russian, "It's not enough to die, you must win." In addition to the image of Putin, photographs of Dragolub Mihailovich, the leader of the Chetnik partisan movement who fought the fascist invaders of Yugoslavia during the Second World War, were hung in the cafe. Surely the creator of this photo composition saw common features in the activities of the president of Russia and the Chetniks, since he put their photographs together. From Resnik I took a bus back to Zemun, where I was supposed to meet my Russian friend to try to get into one of the most famous buildings in Belgrade, the Genex Tower, also known as the Western Gate of the city. Genex is a 36-story skyscraper in Belgrade which was designed in 1977 in the brutalist style. It is formed by two towers connected with a two-story bridge and revolving restaurant at the top. The building is designed to resemble a high-rise gate greeting people arriving in the city from the west. One of the towers was occupied by the state-owned Genex Group. The tower got its popular name Genex after this group, while its official title remains Western City Gate. The second tower is residential. The tower formerly occupied by the Genex company is empty, while the residential tower is still inhabited. I was supposed to meet my friend at the entrance to the building, but he didn't respond to my messages all evening. He didn't have a local SIM card, so I assumed he was already in the building. I noticed a pile of construction debris at the entrance to the building and also saw people coming and going from the main entrance. This seemed strange to me because it was almost 10 p.m. However, I successfully entered the building unseen and quickly climbed to one of the abandoned floors, the entrance to which was open.
Believe it or not, guys, but I'm currently in Genex Tower. Somewhere in the middle between the bottom floor and the roof. Well, you can barely see anything, but I wouldn't like to use the flashlight. I don't want to be spotted because the goal is to get to the roof. Here is the massive flag of Republika Srpska, because currently in Belgrade they are hosting the headquarters of Republika Srpska.
While exploring one of the abandoned floors about halfway through the building, I heard approaching footsteps and the whispering of two people. At first the sounds came from the corridor and were barely distinguishable, but after half a minute it became clear that someone had entered my floor. At first I thought it could be my friend, but I was confused by the woman's voice. I suggested that it could be the guard who noticed me on the camera. I quietly left the floor, went to the stairs and climbed several floors higher.
Probably someone has recently been here. Maybe they tried to steal equipment that was preserved for years here. I don't know, I've just seen several cups of beer. It seems that this part of the building was abandoned in 2015, based on the calendar that I've just found on the wall.
I stopped hearing voices and elevator sounds. Around midnight, there was complete silence in the building. I couldn't understand why there were so many people in the building if it was abandoned. When I climbed to the very top of the tower, I found myself in an empty restaurant where the lights were on and half-drunk and not yet opened bottles of alcohol stood on the bar counter.
I don't know why, guys, but there are some bottles with water, so probably some works go on here. So we are just passing by the bar. Look, what's that? What's going on here? That's insane. Somebody celebrated something here, or what?
There was a party at Genex restaurant, I thought. The restaurant had panoramic windows with views of Belgrade. It was possible to stand there for hours and observe the city from an unusual angle in detail. It felt like I was in a liminal space, because we are all used to seeing people in restaurants. I was the only person not only in the restaurant, but perhaps in the entire building, with the exception of the security guard. Walking through the Genex at night was like being in a dream, and I liked it. At sunrise, I climbed out onto the roof to photograph Belgrade in the morning.
So for those who are interested in the view from the Genex Tower in Belgrade, there it is. So it's finally bright on the street, so I can easily walk around the building without the flashlight and show you things. So currently I'm on the 24th floor. Well, each floor has the same design. The difference is only in the equipment which has been preserved in rooms. The building is still supplied by electricity, that's why you can even charge your phone here. Looks like the office of the air company. Look, business jets, low-cost travel, ERA, so pretty much everything devoted to air travels. Looks like it was the office of Lufthansa, because they have the branded world map here, and here is Serbia, this tiny piece of land. This is what happens if you haven't cleaned the dust in your room for more than 10 years. It's just white, look. Frankly speaking, at the beginning of the exploration, I thought that the situation at this building is way worse, because the highest floors are almost empty, but in the middle there is still a lot of interesting things that can be found. Oh, yeah. Welcome to the childhood for sure. But actually I haven't used them, because in times when I was young, I started using computer, regular like DVD and CD discs appeared. You know what? This place actually provokes the nostalgia. Even though sometimes I visit abandoned places and feel nothing aside from aesthetical pleasure, because I'm not associated with that abandoned places. Here the situation is different, because it was abandoned relatively lately, like in modern history, just 11 years ago. And I was living in that time, and I remember all of these things from my childhood basically. Alright guys, welcome back to my journey around Serbia. Apparently the last footage was filmed in Belgrade, but from Belgrade to this footage
There were 2 days when I didn't do anything, so I returned to Subotica because I had some business there, and currently I'm continuing exploring the country. The next couple of days will be devoted to exploration of Vojvodina again, because last time when I visited Subotica and Novi Sad, we didn't actually see the whole region. Currently I'm in the village called Bajmak. It is located between Subotica and Sombor, two major cities of Vojvodina, and today I'm planning to explore some border areas of Serbia and Croatia. Somehow I start my journey from here, not from Subotica, but that's a long story. Look at this lovely cathedral on the background. It must be Catholic cathedral, because this area of northern Vojvodina is primarily populated by Hungarians. Actually, we have a golden opportunity to visit this church, because last time when I was here it was closed. Well, it's actually closed, but at least it's well, sort of the entrance. One of the doors to the entrance is open, and we can see the interior of the church through the glass. Well, must be an ordinary church. And once again, in northern part of Vojvodina, we can always see the translation of street signs to Hungarian. But also in this area of Vojvodina, in northern part of it, where some national minorities such as Bunjevci live, we can also see their language on the street signs. Frankly speaking, it's hard to me to understand which one is the language of Bunjevci and which one is Serbian at this point, because they're more or less the same. It's like dialects of the same language. The task number one is to hitchhike to the city of Sombor on the way to the terminus, so we'll cross it anyway. Actually, the problem of Serbia in general, especially of these country roads, is that there is no roadside, and even buses have to stop in the middle of the road to pick up passengers. And I will probably try to hitchhike from this point, because here is at least something that reminds me of the roadside. I mean, the space for the car to pull over. So you told me that Apatin is about to become a village.
Yeah,
because
a population is leaving to bigger cities, to other countries, mainly because of work.
So in the past there were some industries that eventually closed?
Yeah. After the war, we have many companies, fabrics, and stuff. But privatization, our state sold many companies to
some private owners.
To some private, yeah, and they close it, and
yeah, so
once we were rich, yeah, and now we are done. We are not.
Okay, so we have finally made it to the town of Apatin, situated almost on Serbian and Croatian border, and two countries are split by Danube River, one of the major rivers of Europe. So currently we are driving through the outskirts of Apatin. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Apatin, a town on the Danube River in Vojvodina. I came here to learn more about the territorial dispute between Serbia and Croatia, and also to visit Liberland, a self-proclaimed micronation founded in 2015 by Czech politician and activist Vít Jedlička. It claims a small uninhabited piece of land on the western bank of the Danube River between Croatia and Serbia, which neither country claims as its territory. The emergence of Liberland is a consequence of the territorial dispute between Serbia and Croatia, dating back to the collapse of Yugoslavia, when once union republics between which there were no borders became independent states. The territorial dispute between Serbia and Croatia involves the Danube River, which serves as a natural border between two countries. The specific area of contention is a strip of land on the Serbian side of the river, which Croatia claims based on historical and cadastral boundaries. The disagreement stems from different interpretations of the river's course and changes over time. While Serbia maintains that the current river channel marks the boundary, Croatia argues for the application of historical borders that place the disputed land within its territory. On the way to Apatin, I realized that I would not be able to get directly to Liberland because the territory on which this unrecognized state was located was actually under control of Croatia. Nevertheless, on the outskirts of Apatin in Serbia, there is a representative office of Liberland, to which I went immediately upon arrival in Apatin to learn more about this micronation. I'm Ivan.
I'm Vanya.
So we are namesakes, actually.
Yes, Ivan, Vanya.
I'm aware of Liberland, but know very small things about it. Can you please explain to me the concept of this territory?
This is not Liberland actually. This is Liberland village in Serbia. Liberland is upstream from here. You see, there is Danube. Liberland is upstream, 10 kilometers from here. You can also visit Liberland. You can try.
By boat or?
It's possible also by boat or from Croatia.
As far as I know, Croatian authorities did not allow people to enter that territory. Is it still relevant?
Sometimes it depends who is visiting, because they have some their rules or something like that, their reason why they do it, how they do it. I'm not sure exactly, what is their logic, but they select people. Russians and Serbs, we are probably not welcome that much, but others from EU are welcomed. They don't have really border crossing, official border crossing. So they stop you where they want and they check your passport and allow you to go or not.
I play some song and you recognize. It's a,
Oh, no way.
no problem, no problem.
Okay.
It's not too hard.
Okay.
Come on, man. What is this song? Yeah, I heard the train is coming and it's rolling around the bend. I don't see the sunshine since I don't know when. Well, I'm stuck in Folsom prison. Times keep dragging on. What performer is it? Come on, man.
No idea, absolutely.
I can help you. Johnny.
Cash?
Yeah, it's a fun. Yeah! One point for you, man. One Fanta for you.
This is one of the very few rock artists that I personally know and listen.
Personally, no.
No, not personally, but just no. After a short musical performance accidentally organized by members of the local community, I spoke with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Liberland, Thomas Wall, who told me more about Liberland.
This is the main hall of the Ark Village. This serves as a place where we have many parties and events and festivals and conferences for Liberland. And we have about 6 cabins over here on the one side. We have several cabins over on the other side of the lake. As you can sort of see in the background, we have a large field for activities. Children have games there, where people have soccer or football matches. We invite local people to come here and do that as well. So it's very popular with locals, as well as with people coming to visit Liberland in our community here. We recently launched our own tokens on the blockchain, the Liberland Merit, which is basically our governance token. People can vote with their merits, and the Liberland Dollar, which is sort of a liquidity token, and you can exchange it and use it as a means of exchange, or you can trade it with other people. It's now on decentralized finance or decentralized exchanges like Uniswap. And we're proud of our settlers who are actually in Liberland right now.
How many of them are there in actual Liberland?
Well, not too many right now. The first settlement, I was part of the first round of people that went in August of last year, 2023. And we started building houses and building a base camp and a settlement there. And unfortunately, the Croatian authorities, the police, border police, came in and either destroyed or took away a lot of our stuff, including the buildings that we made. But the people are still there. They said they were cleaning up trash from the forest. Obviously, it wasn't trash. It was brand new equipment that was being used and personal items and things like that. So we've had some tension, unfortunately, with the Croatian authorities, and we're doing what we can to show we want to make it a win-win situation. We can bring tourism and investment and jobs to that area, not just Liberland, but also the surrounding area in Croatia, which has suffered from a lot of unemployment. People are leaving to go to the coast, to go to Germany, to go to somewhere else. We can help bring back people and investment and tourism And we really love the area, and we want to show that we're a good community. We love friendship and peace and entrepreneurship, so we want to encourage that, and that's who the character of our people are.
We are currently in the bay area of Apatin. Well, there is kind of the bay of Danube River, but as you can see, the whole area is flooded because of the increased level of water, which was caused by heavy rains that were happening here 2 days ago. And the level of water is still pretty high. Here is the proof that there used to be the railway line in Apatin. The disassembled railway seems to be disassembled pretty recently, and the old piece of railway track on level crossing. They have reached the levelest part of Apatin. Its embankment on the right is Danube River that splits Serbia and Croatia. This forest is already on Croatian side of the border. Here is kind of the small harbor, a lovely Orthodox cathedral, Orthodox church. And also, as we can see, one of the European bike trails crosses this city. It also covers Croatia. Here is its route along Serbia. And this is like the general map of this bike trail. It starts from Austria actually, all the way to Serbia. Well, even though the embankment is short, it's pretty nice with the panoramic view on the river. There it is. We can probably get inside this Orthodox church as well. Okay, we are inside the church. Look at this beauty. It's full of icons. The whole altar is in icons. Well, based on maps, I have already entered Croatian territory. Look at that. Actually, I'm still in Serbia. So this is no doubt Serbian part of Apatin. And this territory, all the way there, is kinda disputed part. Based on the cadastral boundaries of Croatia, it is Croatia, but those cadastral boundaries were designed in like 19th century. Anyway, it's completely legal to enter this part of the disputed territory from Serbia, because Serbia considers this territory as Serbian territory, because the border is marked by the middle of the Danube. So pretty much everything which is left of the river is in Serbia, which is right of the river, it's Croatia. It's getting so funny, guys. I have just published the story that I have entered Croatia, and already 3 individuals texted me on Instagram that they would like to meet up with me in some European countries. But, well, I will have to tell them the truth, but I haven't actually entered European Union. Sadly, as a Russian citizen, I cannot just decide and go straight to Croatia immediately. I will have to apply for a Schengen visa, either of Croatia or another European Union country. There is quite a long procedure, so boring one, and there is no guarantee that I will be given a visa. Or there is a chance that I will be given a visa only for the period of my stay in European Union. I will actually have to represent the plan of my adventure, so I will have to show all of my bookings, tickets, back and forth. So it's not that easy right now. I'm not a politician who starts wars, but because of this I will never be able to travel to European Union without visa as a Russian citizen. Well, it's still possible to get there, thankfully, so it's not like entirely banned. I mean, that's just the whole procedure demotivates me to go there, you know? On the way to the second entrance to the so-called Croatian part of Apatin, I found such an interesting public sign. At first I thought that it marks the border, like don't cross the border or something, but actually it says do not throw trash, so it has nothing with the border. The public sign says that we are heading towards some of the industries of Apatin. No border fence, nothing, which means that we haven't left Serbia, effectively. But that's it, so I think there is no need to enter Croatia even deeper. Let's just return to Serbia and enjoy the rest of the day. Apparently we are in the center of Apatin, which looks like the most developed part of the town. I like it, it's quite peaceful, a bit deserted. Well, actually the closer we get to pedestrian precinct of Apatin, the better town becomes. Look what I found in the very center of Apatin. Huge Z letter and the short quotation of some Serbian military, probably. Maybe this is Ratko Mladic, I'm not sure. Whether they do have a better street art in Apatin. One of the facades of the building is decorated by a picture with the man
stay next to the fish soup, which is being cooked. Apparently this fish soup is the feature of Apatin. You can clearly see the fishing net above the soup, so it's cooked from the freshly caught fish. The best thing we can do now is to find a cheap restaurant where we can have reasonable lunch, and then I will just hitchhike back to Subotica and prepare for the next part of my Serbian adventure. I've just ordered pizza margarita for 500 dinars, which is less than 5 euros. And let me tell you that this is one of the best margarita pizzas that I've ever ordered here in Serbia. So thumbs up for this pizzeria in Apatin. After eating delicious pizza, I hitchhiked back to Subotica without any problems, only to leave it again the next day. I went by train to the northern Banat district of Vojvodina. I've noticed a very funny thing about some Serbian trains. Look at this. So all of them have this kind of electronic information desk where they usually show the next stops. But in this particular train they welcome Russians to Serbia, both in English and Russian language. That's completely insane situation. I've never seen this kind of thing in other countries of the world. But they literally do so. It's not the first train where I see this kind of announcement. I also saw other trains in other regions of Serbia. The train has slowed down because we are approaching Tisa river, which flows across the town of Senta. Look at this beauty. There is not that much rivers in Vojvodina, I mean like big rivers, and Tisa is one of them. They're crossing the old bridge over it. And the city remains on the right side of the train. I got off the train an hour-and-a-half drive from Subotica in the Banat village of Nova Miloševa to see the sights of that not-so-popular area of Serbia. Alright, I've just arrived in the village which is called Nova Miloševa. It is located close to the town of Kikinda in Vojvodina. Along with the exploration of local attractions, we will also see how rural life in Vojvodina goes on. Even though I marked only 2 places on the map in this village that I would like to visit, apparently there are more of them, such as this spomenik. Spomenik is a monument in Serbian language. It's dedicated to the victims of occupiers of this territory of Vojvodina, because as you know, between 1941 and 1944 this territory was annexed by Hungary, which was a part of fascist forces back then, and basically 30 Serbs were killed here in this village. Fairly rural landscape around. Well, what could we expect from the village? I see some abandoned sites as well. Some separate buildings are abandoned, some areas that probably were industries in the past, in times of Yugoslavia, that are currently not in use anymore. But it doesn't mean that all of the places are abandoned here. Obviously, the agriculture still is the main source of income here, probably. Even though the village in general looks pretty average, there are some decent villas as well, with some special water supply. Look, this truck has arrived to supply the water to this particular villa. And here is the main attraction of Nova Miloševa village, the so-called Žeravica Museum, the museum of tractors and steam machines. So it was founded by a person with the surname Žeravica, so the museum was named after him. He was collecting some old machinery, mainly produced in 20th century in its first part and in the war times of 20th century. Most of the exhibits are tractors. And aside from tractors, here we can definitely find some agricultural equipment, I don't know, some just old things of that era. Well, it's actually the first time when I see plow in my life, because they were replaced by combines and stuff, some modern machines. Look at this monster. It's probably one of the earliest tractors that could appear here. The water pumps, ancient water pumps. Look, wow, it's so heavy actually, but these are local ones. It says Zrenjanin 81. I think I found the most exciting exhibit here. This is the steam asphalt paver. So this is basically the boiler, huge, tremendously huge wheels, and this is the cap. So all of these steam mechanisms. Just got to a local grocery store and got some
ice cream and croissant. It must be a Serbian ice cream. This is Plasma, the well-known brand in Serbia. So let's try their ice cream. So far I have only tried cookies. Well, it's nice. It actually has two layers. The upper one is just an ice cream, and the lower one is the ice cream in the waffle. So I'm still in this Nova Miloševo village. Currently I'm facing the whole abandoned palace. I mean, it's literally abandoned. The only question is that if it's possible to get inside or not. So we can just get in apparently. Wow, look at that. Well, the palace is completely empty inside, but we can still enjoy its rich interior. Huge butterflies. Maybe it used to be a school or kindergarten for some time. Just imagine how epic would it be to create a hotel from this place. The only question is, who would be guests of this place? I mean, there must be the whole touristic cluster to attract tourists, not just one building. But theoretically, if there were some more attractions, so reasons for tourists to come, it would certainly be beneficial to turn this abandoned building into a hotel. Wow, what's that? Looks like the huge kitchen or something. Can't say for sure what was allocated here. Actually, it feels like we are walking across some mental facility which has been abandoned for years. There is such a wonderful spinning staircase leading to the roof. There are 2 floors totally. And actually it has been well preserved. Even though it's empty inside, the construction itself doesn't seem to be damaged. Here we are on the terrace of the palace. The central terrace that faces the courtyard. Sadly, the whole territory is abandoned, but I do like it. Maybe in the future they will manage to restore it, because it definitely needs some investments, because the architecture is rich, the potential is huge, so it should be thoroughly thought how to utilize this building. Alright, I think that's it for this village. Let's go further, and don't forget to close the door. If the door is closed, we can just get over the fence. Like this. And this. And this. Here we are. I've just found the nest of storks. There is a mother stork and 3 its children. 3 tiny storks. Observing the road, guarding the village. Alright, I've just explored the village and currently I'm on my way to the ruins of the ancient church, which is situated 10 kilometers away from the village. I decided to walk all the way to the church because, well, relying on hitchhiking in such a barely populated area, it's not a best idea. Possibly we'll catch a ride on the way. Do you agree with me that this cabin hidden in the growing corn looks quite cinematic? Ja sam idę do Araci.
Ajde.
Dobro.
Where are you from?
Russia.
Oh, Russia!
Uh-huh. Now I'm walking to this kind of church.
Okay, I know.
Yes. And you are from here, right?
Yeah, from this city, Novi Sad.
Oh, I was there once.
Yeah.
But where are you going right now, actually?
To field.
To the field.
Combine work to field.
Okay. Great.
I stay to field, I don't know, 50 minutes. You want go back with me?
But
to Novi Sad, do you want or?
Oh yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay.
You said 15 or 50?
10-15 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
I will just check the church.
Okay.
This church was built in 1230, so this is 13th century, 13 век.
30, da.
To je bila katolička crkva, da?
Pravoslavna. Pravoslavna. Pravoslavci kažu da je pravoslavna, katolici kažu da je katolička.
Okay, the universe has just sent me this driver who gave me a lift across the fields straight to the church. Apparently Serbs consider this church Orthodox, but apparently it was not Orthodox church initially. Maybe it used to be Orthodox church for some period of time, but definitely not Orthodox. Come on, let's just get in and we will see the classic Catholic cathedral. Look at these columns, these forms of architecture. So exciting. Well, as far as I know, this church was ruined several times and reconstructed again by different powers that occupied this area. It was definitely destroyed by Ottoman Empire, but not only by them, also by other powers. Apparently now it's a pretty off the beaten path destination in this area, because I haven't seen any tourists coming to or from this church. It's ruined, obviously it's ruined, but its ruins have been pretty well preserved. Remember the guy in the white pickup truck? He actually picked me up at the church and together we drove to the nearest town of Novi Sad. There he invited me to his house for a lunch and introduced me to his family. After eating, we, together with that guy and his friends from the local football team, drove towards the city of Zrenjanin. Along the way, I made one change and soon reached Zrenjanin. Even though initially I didn't plan to show you around the city, most likely I will do so, because I still have quite a lot of time. This is my second visit to Zrenjanin, and during my first visit the city turned out to be pretty nice, even better than I expected. It's located just within 1 hour of driving to Belgrade, so the capital city is fairly close. Well, actually, for what Zrenjanin is famous for here in Serbia is for the quality of water, but to be precise, with the poor quality of water, because, well, we are currently like atop of the sea, ancient Pannonian Sea, and somehow in the vicinity of Zrenjanin there are significant deposits of arsenicum in the soil. And this arsenicum squeezes into the underground water, and this water is also used in just like daily water supply within the city. That's why there is a lot of photos in the internet showing the yellow, sometimes even brown water coming from taps in Zrenjanin, like tap water. The guys are kayaking in Zrenjanin. The main river flows across the center of the city. It's called Belgrade. Look what I found in Zrenjanin. This is the most Russian cafe in Serbia, most definitely. It literally says, "I like Moscow," so the cafe was named in honor of the Russian capital. Bravo. Bravo. Можно кофе? Кофе, да. У вас есть капучино? Одно капучино. Look at this lovely interior. They actually have the pictures of the Red Square here, and also the portrait of Vladimir Putin. Even though it was unplanned, I still have got a portion of Russia for today. A portion of Moscow, to be precise. Strangely enough, the old town of Zrenjanin today is quite deserted. This is my second visit to the city, and during my first visit here it was overcrowded. But there was the time when the open-air market was working, so probably that occasion attracted crowds of people. Overall, the city is not that bad at all, especially its old part. Well, it's a pretty small city, so it takes just 1 hour to walk across the whole city probably. I mean, across the area with the highest concentration of attractions. We are in the central square of Zrenjanin. What is it remarkable for is this lovely church. Well, seems to be Catholic. Just some like administrative building, probably the city's administration, like the town hall is situated here. This is my second favorite place in Zrenjanin after Cafe Moscow, the so-called dry bridge, so bridge over nothing. Probably in the past there was just like one body of water which was split on two at some point, and currently the place where this body of water was split
turn out to be the ground, basically, so there is no water. The public sign says that the entrance to the bridge is, well, dangerous because the construction of the bridge is in emergency condition. So theoretically, they could just eliminate this water body, not to construct a new bridge. You will no longer use this bridge in emergency condition, you will just pass by walking and that's it. So instead of constructing a new bridge, they just finished the water. Just made it to Zrenjanin railway station, which mostly seems to be dead. There is some passenger service to Kikinda and Subotica, no trains to Belgrade. There are some abandoned wagons and vehicles, railway vehicles in the station like this one. But just one thing that I want to show you here is the abandoned steam locomotive, which stays here for years probably. Let's get closer to it. But actually, before we approach the steam locomotive, I'd like to show you some more abandoned trains. Well, that I found during my first visit here. Some motor cars that could technically operate with passengers. Most likely they operated with passengers, so it's not like exclusively service trains. We can even get inside one of these trains. The door is... oh, this one is open, relatively. So that's it. It's completely empty inside. The windows are broken. And the whole territory seems to be abandoned, you know? Probably it used to be a part of the railway depot. And the depot is situated in another place right now, because this one is abandoned. Yeah, that's another train. And over here we can see a part of the active train. This is actually the hidden gem of Zrenjanin. This steam locomotive was produced in 1943 in the wartime Germany. So it's Krusevac. After some restoration, I believe, well, complete restoration, it can still run. So it's staying here in Zrenjanin. It has already been overgrown by grass. You can still enjoy it. It was an operation in Yugoslavia. Yeah, to make sure that the locomotive is German, we can see some writings. Well, some letters are missing, but it is in German language. And it says 1942, so maybe it was constructed even a year earlier than it was mentioned in database. Passing by some railway buildings, just spotted the emblem of Yugoslavian railways. The lovely red star on top and the well-recognizable symbol of the railway. I mean, if you look at the logo of Soviet railways and some early logos of Russian railways, you'll see exactly same thing, you know, like the wings. Speaking about multiculturality of Vojvodina, there is the public sign indicating the city limit of the city of Zrenjanin, and there are 6 ways how you can call Zrenjanin. Well, probably there are 2 ways in Serbian, so one Latin, one in Cyrillic, one in Hungarian, but 2 others, I have no idea what's that. Maybe one in Slovak, but what's the last one? I'm approaching the hitchhiking spot to cover the last stretch of today's journey. I'm planning to hitchhike from Zrenjanin to Novi Sad and visit just one location between them. Believe it or not, guys, but this is the 3rd car in a row that I stopped from this first attempt. Bravo, ja sam jedu do smer Novi Sada. Dobro. Well, it took me just 10 minutes to get here from Zrenjanin, and let me tell you that I almost missed this spomenik, because like here is the road. I expected the spomenik to be right next to the road, but it turned out to be over there. So the spomenik behind me is called Black Chupria. I don't know exactly how to translate the word Chupria, but anyway, the spomenik was devoted to the victims of the Novi Sad raid. So this was the occasion during the Second World War when Hungarian forces that occupied Vojvodina carried out the massacre and killed around 600 residents of the nearby town of Žabalj, and 250 of them were women and children. The closer I get to the monument, the higher they seem to be at, so it's way higher than me. So I'm in the process of hitchhiking to Subotica, and I managed to stop a car with a Chinese guy inside in the exit of Novi Sad. He turned out to be the worker who constructs the high-speed railway between Novi Sad and Subotica. And look at that, this is what he gave me for free. So he literally bought me 2 bottles of beer gave me tomato and incredibly nutritious Chinese meal. So China treats their workers pretty well. I mean, the meal is so nutritious. So here is rice, some vegetables, some kind of tofu, and that is fried nuts, salty fried nuts. So incredible source of protein. And once again, 1 tomato and 2 cups of beer additionally as a bonus. So I have returned to Subotica. It's late evening in the city. It's quite vibrant, a lot of street musicians, some performances in restaurants and cafes. So in summer the atmosphere here is quite enjoyable, let me say. So after the short break I returned to my journey around Serbia, and currently I'm planning to visit some southern areas of the country. For today is going to be the last stage of the exploration of Vojvodina. We are going to explore the surrounds of the city of Vrsac, which is close to Romanian border, and then, well, complete improvisation. Alright, I've just arrived at Zrenjanin. The local time is 10 AM, and let me tell you that it's already so freaking hot. The temperature is around plus 32 degrees Celsius, and by the midday it's going to reach plus 36, which is going to be the hottest temperature I've ever experienced. As I know, a couple of days ago I had already visited Zrenjanin, so I'm not going to explore the city this time again. And the plan for the city is just to cross it by walking. It's going to take around 1 hour. Sounds pretty simple, but during the heat I don't actually have any hat or protection for my head. I don't have any protection for my skin. I was thinking about buying a shirt, but well, I was thinking too long, you know. I'm already in the trip, so I only have 1 additional bottle of water that I'm going to just drain on my head additionally if it's going to be too hot, but that's pretty much it. Well, it's quite possible to survive this heat if you manage to hide in shadow from time to time. When you're constantly being exposed to the sun, then the situation could be a bit different. Actually, the ultraviolet index has increased today from 6 to 8, which means that it's pretty high right now. Walking across Zrenjanin, I've heard the voice of the street, Hoćemo vodu, which means that we want water. That's another kind of the link to the fact that the quality of water in Zrenjanin is disgusting and people need better water supply. As long as there are no direct trains from Subotica to Vrsac, here in Zrenjanin I changed to hitchhiking. I'm going to start hitchhiking from the outskirts of the city, from this gas station. Yeah, I've got my first car heading towards one of the nearby villages of Zrenjanin, enjoying the views of Vojvodina, the fields. The journey in this car is going to be fairly short, up to 20 kilometers, but it's still pretty nice. So here they grow peaches or something, some fruits. Believe it or not, guys, but apparently I've just stopped here's / catafalque. There is actually the coffin right behind me. So the temperature has reached its maximum for today, plus 37 degrees Celsius. Frankly speaking, I thought that it would be worse, probably because of the low humidity. Heat doesn't feel like intolerable. Someone is growing apricots. They're actually ready, so pretty much eatable. I do like the fact that street art can be found pretty much in random villages here in Vojvodina. To be honest, I didn't plan to stop in this village. I didn't even expect to find anything peculiar, but there it is, a random Yugoslavian spomenik on the background. So based on the information provided on this desk, we can see names of people. They were executed here by fascist forces who occupied this area in times of the Second World War. Okay, even though the hitchhiking spot that I chose was pretty shitty, the very first car actually stopped. So currently I'm riding inside the old Zastava produced in 1986. So...
Kragujevac proizvođač.
Da, klasična jugoslavska auto.
Zastava Kragujevac, nekad bio popularan, po cijeli svijet je išao.
Aha, ja još vidjel puna zastava u Srbiji.
Da, ima.
So the car is still popular in Serbia. actually. I'm gradually approaching Vrsac, and mostly I managed to hitchhike local cars, cruising between villages or running to some nearby villages. And people are super friendly. I'm excited to explore this region more, and thanks to all of them who give me a lift. Some guys who just gave me a lift here, they actually lived not in this village, they lived in another one, but they just decided to give me a lift straight here. And the reason why I wanted to visit this particular place, by the way, we are currently in the no-name village called Banatski Sokolac. The reason why I'm here is because probably one of the most unusual monuments of Serbia is situated here, and I'm staying next to the monument to Bob Marley, the world famous musician.
Bob Marley is renowned as one of the pioneers of the reggae genre. His fame has spanned generations, and in the small Serbian village of Banatski Sokolac of just 300 residents, a statue was erected in honor of the artist. In 2008, a Croatian sculptor Davor Dukic unveiled the statue at the Rock Village Music Festival. The statue was constructed featuring Marley's famous Fist in the Air salute and made the village an even more popular tourist destination.
Well, aside from the school, they also painted the local grocery store in a quite creative way. Here we can also see some Jamaican wipes. This is basically the electricity counters behind these boxes, and basically all of the basic products that can be bought in this grocery store. So coffee, sweets, salt, pepper, some chemicals, and blah blah blah. But apparently the store is closed right now. By the way, I already see the mountain in Vrsac that I'm planning to visit. Due to the fact that Vojvodina has flat terrain, it's easy to catch this kind of high points. Congratulations, I have reached the city of Vrsac, probably one of the closest Serbian cities to Romanian border. And the main point of interest in this city is the mountain, one of the two islands of former Pannonian Sea. The first one is Fruška Gora and the second one is Vršacki Breg, which literally means like the Vrsac shore. Even though I have covered only 1/3 of the distance to the summit of the mountain, even from here we can enjoy quite spectacular views on the Vrsac city. Classic tile roofs all around the town. Views are actually getting more and more spectacular. From this standpoint we can even enjoy the Orthodox Church. Okay, finally reached the point with incredible view on the city of Vrsac. I haven't reached the castle yet, like the fortress, which is on the very top of the mountain. But even from here we can enjoy the panoramic view on the whole city and surrounding area. Whew, I finally made it to the top of the Vrsac mountain. On the background is the Vrsac castle that's probably existing here for hundreds of years. The city actually is pretty tiny. Here is the city, probably some kind of the monastery in the middle of the field, and just some pre-mountains, you know, like smaller hills that are located on the approaches to the actual mountain. It seems that they used this huge stone as a part of the foundation for the fortress. Based on the information shown on the public sign next to the fortress actually experiences reconstruction. So they are restoring some parts of it. Let me tell you that neighborhoods around the Vrsac mountain look quite rich. Huge family villas. So this is probably an expensive land because there is not that much mountains around. So people have a unique opportunity to enjoy it in Vojvodina. I've already finished the second voda for today, which means that I have consumed 3 liters of water already, and it's likely that I will need one more bottle till the end of this day to hydrate myself enough, because the heat is still pretty strong, plus 36 degrees Celsius, and it's going to be less than 30 only after 10 p.m. So, alright, I made it to the railway station in Vrsac in time. Behind me is the train that I'm going to take to Belgrade. There is quite a lot of wind generators around Vrsac, one of the windiest areas of Serbia. Alright, I'm in Belgrade, but I have just changed the plan because 2 trains simultaneously delayed. My train And another one that I would like to take, and I actually taken it because it's going to delay for at least 5 minutes. So basically I'm not going to overnight in Belgrade, I'm going to another city south of the capital. The train runs so slowly, around 30 kilometers per hour. So, and it's delayed already for 40 minutes, even though it started its journey around 1 hour ago. So I don't know what's happening here in Serbia, but its railway network definitely requires complete reconstruction. So it's so good that they started it by Belgrade Subotica railway line, but pretty much the entire railway system must be reconstructed. It seems that I have found a sleeping spot in Mladenovac. Guess where am I? I'm inside the abandoned wagon, which is designed to transport vehicles. Well, I found this wagon basically in the train station of Mladenovac. There was an open door in which I sneaked. It's a bit overgrown inside, but still pretty nice place. Most importantly that I'm not laying on the ground. And well, by now, probably till tomorrow. Local time is 4:25 a.m. Can't say that I had a decent sleep, but at least I had a nap. So let's just take one of the early morning buses. Alright, I finally taken one of these very early buses. Aside from me there is only one passenger, and apparently that's another free bus. Thanks for Belgrade and Belgrade municipality for sponsoring my trips. Here we are, somewhere near the town of Mladenovac. Currently I'm heading towards one of the monuments dedicated to the events happening in the Second World War, because all of this area was occupied by Nazi forces and a lot of heavy fightings took place here, especially fightings between partisans, so guerrillas, and Nazi forces. Here we are, I finally reached the goal, and currently we are enjoying one of the greatest Yugoslavian spomeniks. This is the monument to the fallen soldiers of the Kosmaj partisan detachment. This monument represents the composition consisting of 5 concrete arms, 30 meters high, which symbolize the freedom and uprising spark. On August 8, 1941, during the German offensive on Kosmaj, a fight was fought between a group of fighters from Mladenovac and the Germans. So this monument commemorates the victims of that fighting. I believe this is one of the most exciting monuments I've ever seen in my life so far.
The next city on my way was Kragujevac. I got there by hitchhiking, chatting with drivers on various topics along the way. In Kragujevac, I had a delicious pizza with several types of ham for breakfast. After breakfast, I reached the main attraction of the city that interested me, the Šumadija Memorial Park, famous for the fact that during the Second World War, the occupation forces shot the local population with particular cruelty here.
And during the Second World War, one of the harshest massacres in Serbia happened here in Kragujevac. There is a park with numerous monuments devoted to the victims of that massacre. Those were men from Kragujevac and the surrounding area. Around 2,800 men and boys were killed here by German forces on October 21st, 1941. The reason why there were so many people killed was because Germany applied collective punishment to those who tried to resist their occupation. If one German soldier was killed, for this one death, 100 people were executed. If the German soldier was injured, then 50 people were executed. And totally we have almost 3,000 losses.
I focused my attention on visiting several monuments in Šumadija Memorial Park. The first one was called Circles. This monument, built in 1981, was a series of massive interconnected steel discs meant to stand as a memorial marker to several mass graves that exist around this hillside. As circles are generally symbols of perfection and harmony, the designer therefore decided to warp and distort the circles, intending to display to the viewer a symbolic representation of the horrors which occurred here. The second monument, called 100 for 1, was the most epic one. This memorial sculpture depicted contorted and interlaced agonizing bodies, all resting on a concrete base. As the bodies rise up, they begin to resemble that of a tree, symbolizing both the natural beauty where this tragic event occurred and also the strength of the Serbian people. Furthermore, the name of this particular spomenik alludes to the order German commander Franz Böhme carried out, where 100 civilians were killed for every one killed German soldier. Finally, I saw the monument called Interrupted Flight, which was situated directly on the site of the mass grave where the remains of the executed school children were interred. My visit to Kragujevac was primarily devoted to seeing the monuments in the memorial park. After the park, I walked through the city to the bus station, passing the unusual Y-shaped high-rise building and the pedestrian zone in the center. From Kragujevac, I took a minibus to the town of Despotovac to continue my journey through Serbia from there.
I took an overpriced marshrutka from Kragujevac to a random Serbian town called Despotovac. I have a question to people from Serbia. Maybe some of you can explain to me why when you go to the bus station, when you buy a ticket to the bus, you also have to buy additional ticket to like enter the platform, you know? Like the bus ticket itself is overpriced. I paid 850 dinars to cover distance of 75 kilometers. In addition, I paid 120 dinars for like to just get to the bus platform, and also I paid 80 dinars to get to the bathroom in the bus station. So total I paid around 1000, which is close to like €9. Somebody's growing some tropical plants on their front yard. Looks like banana, honestly. I don't think that it actually gives bananas, but it's still growing. Here is the main goal for Despotovac, the Manasija Monastery, in form of the ancient fortress. The monastery was built in 15th century. Looks exactly like a medieval fortress. So we are on the territory of the monastery, which looks surreal. Look at the church, firstly. Look in this fortress. So the church is literally surrounded by ancient walls. There is the Saint Trinity Orthodox Church. It literally looks like the coat of arms of some knight ship. So it just proves additionally the fact that being here feels like you're in the video game or just in the reality based on the events happening in medieval times. Yet the view from the higher point is even more spectacular. From here we can also enjoy the surrounding mountains on the background of the church. So the monastery is basically situated in the middle of the mountains. I was thinking about visiting a mining facility near Despotovac to see some narrow gauge railway, but apparently I will not go there because the sun is going to get down in 3 hours, and even though the mining facility is located close to Despotovac, there is no public transportation to there. I will need to hitchhike, and there is just high chances to stick on the road.
Having abandoned the idea of going to the mine near Despotovac, I decided to hitchhike towards the town of Krusevac. To get to Krusevac, I first needed to get to the town of Chupria to change to the evening train to Krusevac. However, the hitchhiking dragged on and I didn't have time to change to the train. I was given a lift by a woman who was going straight to Niš, the largest city in southern Serbia. I decided to go to Niš and the next day moved towards Krusevac. In Niš, I contacted a friend of mine from Russia who has been living in Serbia for 2 years. My friend didn't have an opportunity to host me at his place, so I found a camping spot somewhere in the bushes of Niš. What's up world? Apparently I can say good morning in Niš. I've just been woken up by the rising sun.
after hanging out for half of the night with one of my friends who turned out to live here. So I was sleeping in my sleeping bag somewhere in the bushes with the panoramic view on the football field. Could be even better if the sun didn't wake me up at 6:30. Niš is the opposite city of Subotica. This is the largest city of Serbian South. I would call it the capital of Serbian South. And unlike Subotica, in Niš there is a pretty decent river which is called Nišava. People of Niš live in more or less the same buildings as people of other Serbian cities. In terms of the architecture, there is a couple of peculiarities, but they do not relate to civilian architecture. Wow, first time seeing Kosovan license plates on the car, which is parked somewhere in Niš. This is probably one of the most well-known attractions of the city of Niš, the so-called School Tower.
School Tower, located in Niš, is a macabre monument built by the Ottomans in 1809. It was constructed using schools of Serbian rebels who died in the Battle of Chegar during the First Serbian Uprising. The tower originally contained 952 schools embedded in its walls as a grim warning to others. Today, it stands as a powerful symbol of Serbian resistance and a reminder of the nation's struggle for independence.
So Niš is definitely not the place to go sightseeing. The city is fairly average, but at the same time it's quite livable, especially in summer evenings, because during daytime barely anyone wants to hang out during such a heat. But when sun goes down, there are crowds of people on the streets, trust me. There's another day when it's going to be plus 36 degrees Celsius. Currently we are walking across Bubanj Memorial Park. It's essentially the place where more than 10,000 people, primarily Serbians, Jews and Romas, were executed in times of the Second World War. On top of the hill in the Memorial Park of Bubanj is one of the greatest spomeniks of Serbian South. It's also called Bubanj. So it was placed here in 60s of 20th century in honor of victims of Nazi occupation. So more than 10,000 people were executed in this area between 1942 and 1944. The shape of the monument is so peculiar, like brutalist concrete, illustrates three clenched fists that symbolize resistance. Now I'm heading towards one of the railway stations in Niš, from where I'm going to take a train out of the city, and on the way to that railway station I'm going to cross the Niš fortress, the central landmark of the city.
The present structure of the Niš fortress was primarily built by the Ottomans in the early 18th century on the foundations of older fortifications. It served as a key military stronghold for the Romans, Byzantines, Bulgarians, Serbs and Ottomans. The fortress showcases Ottoman military architecture, featuring massive stone walls, gates and bastions.
I'm approaching the railway station from where I'm going to take a train out of Niš. I decided not to stay here for the second day. Variety of trains in this railway station, locomotives from different countries. Stop here for the crew change with freight trains, definitely. Well, here we are again, jumping into the hot frying pan. Random railway station where I got off the train. Now I'll probably switch to hitchhiking at this point because... I have successfully hitchhiked to the town of Krusevac. The only thing that I was planning to visit here was the Memorial Park, more or less comparable as in Kragujevac, for example, as in Niš. So just different form of spomenik dedicated to the victims of the executions in times of the Second World War. By the way, the reason why I visit these places is not because I want to emphasize the fact that, wow, like Germans were bad and stuff. No, my personal #1 interest is architecture, some unusual architectural form. The feature of this spomenik in Krusevac is that it has the form of wings, and actually shot wings. You see, each one has a hole, like a bullet hole, and well, executions in form of shooting took place here, so probably it means like shot wings, shot desire to life. So before moving further, I'll have to take a break. I'm gonna visit Lidl to get some supplies. Funnily enough, I ended up in the left-handed Lidl. It means that when you enter the grocery store, the bakery is on the left, because I'm used to Lidl's where bakery is on the right. What kind of Lidl are you? Please write in the comments. I've noticed that during summer season I started eating less. Maybe it's just got more difficult for my body to process calories or something, but here is the situation. So I bought one of these like little sandwiches, an ice cream that I have just finished. No worries, I will throw it to the trash bin. So iced coffee, the yogurt, and also a bottle of water. So €5 per pretty reasonable portion of food, I think. Surprisingly, they have great navigation system in Krusevac. Here is the list of public buses, their routes. So I'm currently here, which is also marked in the map, and I will need to cross the whole city to the exit towards Kraljevo. I'm actually quite surprised how nice is the town of Krusevac. It has a well-developed infrastructure. Well, firstly, look at these bike lanes. They're everywhere here, and they're marked specifically by specific color. When it comes to constructions, a lot of brand new things. Very nice bus system with available schedule on every single bus stop. Well, there is not that much attractions as attractions, but it seems to be a comfortable place for living. Congratulations, I have successfully hitchhiked to the town of Kraljevo. Well, I don't have any plans for this town, but what I have just discovered is that here is the river, where I can at least brush up a little bit. And you know, guys, what? Actually, the main reason why I came here to this beach is not because of the river, but because of this. Apparently, it's the free shower that I can take just here right now. Alright, so I have finally taken the shower for the first time in 3 days. That's actually a great feature of Serbia, because not every country has this kind of free showers that pretty much anyone can take. Usually they are located on the embankments or on the like river sides, like here. I decided to take my time and overnight in Kraljevo, because last 2 days I didn't manage to sleep properly, and potentially here I can find a reasonable spot for sleeping. So I've just got my dinner. It's going to be the fried chicken, like just pure protein, and that's it. Long story short, I decided to spend the night in one of the abandoned trains that probably can be found in the railway station of Kraljevo. On the way to the railway station, I'm crossing the very center of the city. It's kind of the square in the round shape. There is a monument and quite a lot of people. So again, as you can see, when the temperature goes down, when sun has already gone down, people are appearing on the streets, because during daytime that may look slightly deserted because of the heat. Well, I've just made it to the Kraljevo railway station. There is a couple, maybe even 3 abandoned trains in the yard, and I'm going to sleep in one of them basically. There is my sleeping spot. I rolled my travel mat inside the ancient gondola. I mean, it's so old that here is the wooden floor. I didn't actually know that such wagons existed. I thought they were initially made entirely of steel. Well, 100% this train will not start moving. It's just entirely abandoned basically. And I'm invisible from this point, so no one will come here. So in the morning I'm going to take a local southbound train to continue exploring southern regions of Serbia basically. Good morning world, local time is 5:45 AM, 1 hour before the departure of my train. Even though this place turned out to be perfect for sleeping in terms of the protection from the
outside world, I still didn't manage to sleep normally just because it was too hot. It's an anomaly or something, I don't know. I'm not used to these temperatures, but I'm still trying to do so.
This is how good morning in Kraljevo looks. Strangely enough, not a single train that I saw here yesterday moved from the station, which means that the train that I heard at night most likely was the transit train.
I left the town of Kraljevo on a train to Rudnica on the border between Serbia and Kosovo. Interestingly, before the coronavirus pandemic, the same train went directly to Kosovska Mitrovica, but since then its route has been shortened to a border station of Rudnica in Serbia. Since the conflict in Kosovo remains unresolved and there is a risk of various provocations and conflicts in the immediate vicinity of the border with Kosovo, several police officers are traveling on the train with passengers to check the passengers' documents. I was lucky to be a holder of a Russian passport, since the police didn't have any questions for me, unlike a citizen of Bosnia and Herzegovina, whose identity was carefully examined by police officers on the train. I got off the train at Vrsac station in the city of the same name, 15 minutes from the border with Kosovo. Vrsac played a crucial role in Serbian history as the cradle of the medieval Serbian state. It was the center of the Serbian Principality during the 12th century, a period when the foundations of the Serbian statehood were established.
The town of Vrsac is situated in the mountainous area of Serbia. So lovely, so picturesque. Definitely a lot of hiking trails are located here. Even though Vrsac is a small town, even such a small town has a pedestrian precinct. I think we can cross the whole town in 15 minutes. Absolutely accidentally, I've just found a decent Serbian mosaic. There are actually 6 different mosaics illustrating birds, some architecture, and totally random elements like figures. So I wonder, is it like the monument to something, or it's just for the decoration of the street? Wow, look at that, look at this man. It's actually the remote location of Serbia. It's around 300 kilometers from the capital city, from Belgrade. It's how a local grocery store looks. Oh wow, Ukrainian chocolate. So we are in the very old town of Vrsac, in the very center of the city. It seems to be the rush hour here right now. Quite a lot of people, even though it's actually Saturday morning, so people don't have to go to job. They can basically chill out in the Polaka mode. Well, just made it to a random fast food restaurant to have a breakfast. Order some kind of the sandwich. Such a lovely, massive sandwich with, I don't know, like ham, cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers, sauce and mayonnaise for less than 3 euros. Alright, just had a cheap and reasonable breakfast finally. The sandwich was good, so high time to hitchhike towards Novi Pazar. It's 10 AM right now and I have successfully hitchhiked to Novi Pazar, the Muslim city in Serbia. So firstly, we can guess that the city is Muslim just by these kind of posters. So as you know, in Serbia and generally in Balkans is the tradition to publish this kind of papers to commemorate the memory of people who died, and this one has some Muslim symbols, like the half part of the moon and the star, like the one in the Turkish flag. Look at the advertisement on the side of the taxi car. It advertises travels to Turkey, to Istanbul on regular basis. So clearly there must be some Turkish influence in this particular city. Well, we are pretty much in the city center. It's like a huge market, which is typical for eastern cities and towns. Religious aspect also affects the culture of clothes. So as we can see, there is a lot of Muslim clothes for sale. Long sleeve dresses, well, basically long dresses for women. The city of Novi Pazar is primarily populated by Bosnians. More than 80% of the population here are Bosnians, and Bosnians are basically Muslim Slavs. An interesting combination, but they have a long history here, so they settled here a long time ago. So women frequently wear hijabs here, the Muslim traditional clothes. But at the same time, I don't think that Muslim rules here are super strict, because the population is actually mixed. Even though most of the people here are Bosnians, not all of them actually Muslims. Obviously, the most evident marker of the Muslim culture here are mosques that can be rarely found anywhere in Serbia. They still can be found, but they're
like not widespread, aside from the area of Novi Pazar.
I've just realized that we shouldn't be surprised to see the market all around the city, just because Novi Pazar means like the new bazaar, so like new market, so the essence of the city is the market. It's Saturday today, the day when most of weddings are celebrated. That's why all over the city we can definitely hear the honks of horns. And the thing is that people here most likely have huge families. That's why these kind of wedding columns are fairly long, and they consist of like dozens of cars. So all of the relatives who were invited for the wedding celebration basically take their cars and honk horns.
Baklava, a famous sweet that can be found pretty much everywhere in Turkey. Not sure how widespread is baklava in Serbia, but in Novi Pazar you can easily get it, at least in the city center. This is what I actually miss in Serbia: kebabs, like decent kebabs, to which I was used to in Turkey. Here they only have some kind of gyros, which is a bit different thing.
Let me tell you that Novi Pazar actually looks a lot like Sarajevo. Also, I see a lot of similarities with Istanbul, Turkey. Strangely enough, every second house seems to be unfinished. I mean, not painted. So they are made of brick and not painted. It was nice to see Novi Pazar. The town is so different from other towns of Serbia. And now I'm going to leave it, also by hitchhiking. I will reach Užice today by hitchhiking the shortest road to Užice. So it's approximately 160 kilometers. So currently I'm just looking for a reasonable hitchhiking spot. So far I haven't found it. The road is so narrow, no space to pull over, no roadside.
Despite all my concerns about the slowness of hitchhiking, I was quickly moving towards Užice. Driving from Novi Pazar to Užice offers a journey through some of the most scenic and diverse landscapes in Serbia. The route, which stretches over winding roads and through mountainous terrain, reveals the natural beauty and cultural richness of southwestern Serbia.
Surprisingly, it took me way less time than I expected to get to Užice. I'm already in the city, right next to the railway station, and I'm planning to spend the next couple of hours here to see a couple of basic sites and also to climb to one of the mountains where the panoramic point of the view on Užice is situated. The very first thing that I'm gonna do in Užice is to have a lunch, and I'm going to do so in the so-called wagon restaurant, or basically the restaurant situated in the wagon. Well, actually it can be the actual wagon from the train that was cruising between Paris and Istanbul. It ran from Paris through Italy, Serbia, Bulgaria, straight to Istanbul.
Okay, it must be the actual wagon restaurant, which is connected to the open terrace of this restaurant. Look, there are numbered seats, so most definitely this wagon was cruising in the actual train.
The city of Užice does not represent much interest to me. However, I must make a notice about this wonderful Yugoslavian block of flats. Or maybe it's the business center, I'm not sure, it could be the business center actually. This brutalist architecture always fascinates me. It will be even better if I manage to get to the top of the mountain and see this exact building from another perspective. Such an interesting graffiti. Glory to Russia, fuck NATO. Probably that was the day when Užice was bombed. 24th of March 1999.
The landmark of Užice that shouldn't be skipped is the Užice fortress, situated on top of one of the mountains with the panoramic view on the city and its surrounds.
Here we go.
Lift going up.
Yes, ma'am.
Doors closing. First floor.
This is the trace of the former railway. And here is the railway bridge. Look at this beauty. They basically turned this abandoned railway line into the walking path, which was like the best decision that could be made with this railway. So now it's a decent tourist attraction. Just look at these constructions. I mean, how can you not like them? It's just marvelous, all of these details. I don't know, like all of these connections, color of old metal bridges. Here is the first tunnel of this railway. The tunnel was constructed in 1928 or 3. So it's the first half of the 20th century. So basically this was the beginning of the narrow gauge railway that ran across Mokra Gora towards Bosnia and Herzegovina. Mostly this railway is disassembled, aside from the short stretch near Mokra Gora to here, which is currently operating as a tourist attraction. So trains run only between these stations. On the entrance to the tunnel we can see the information that its length is 141 meters. Inside there is no illumination. I hope that there are no holes. I don't want to be like under the asphalt suddenly. It took me less than 2 minutes to walk across the tunnel. I already see its second portal, exit portal. There must be a lot of such tunnels on this railway because the whole area is mountainous, and the easiest way to cross mountains was to construct tunnels across them. Another metal bridge over the river. Here is another tunnel, but I will have to turn left somewhere to the path leading to the summit of the mountain.
Having passed the second bridge, I turned off the paved road onto a path leading to the top of the mountain, which offers a panoramic view of Užice. The path turned out to be slippery and difficult to pass, so after the rain started, I decided to turn around and try to reach the top by another road. Along the way, I managed to take several panoramic views of Užice, but even on the second try, I was unable to climb the mountain. The second forest path I took ran into impassable bushes, and I was again forced to turn around and go down. I spent a few more hours in Užice waiting for a bus to the village where I planned to spend the night. During this time, I had dinner and took a public shower in the city park. Late in the evening, I took a bus for 100 dinars to a village where I decided to spend the night in a rather unusual spot.
Alright guys, I have left Užice and made it to a random village in 30 or 40 kilometers from the city. And this is going to be my sleeping spot. Somewhere between massive blocks of wood. It must be the forest industry. And here is enough space for me to lay my travel mat. So tomorrow in the morning I'll continue the journey. I was sleeping between these massive piles of already processed timber, and I was woken up just by the brightness at 5 a.m. I'm speaking quietly because there is actually a lot of people around, and I'm not sure if they are on the territory of this industry or not, but it's all good. I wasn't disturbed at night. My breakfast is going to be fairly simple. A couple of bananas and just one yogurt with the taste of pineapple.
Seems that there used to be the narrow gauge railway, which is currently not entirely operational, and theoretically, based on the fact that the railway from Užice to Bosnia and Herzegovina, old narrow gauge railway, was running across this village, it's likely that this used to be a part of it. We can actually notice that some of the railway carts are in use, and they basically store timber in them. That's kind of interesting. Maybe they were just left this way and they adapted it for storages of timber. This is a Polish machine tool
for processing timber. Yeah, that's an absolutely random device. Look at that. What's this? I don't know what's this, but I need like something like that.
I've just made it to Mokra Gora, the destination for today's morning. I was picked up by a local police officer and, well, 10 minutes from the place where I was sleeping, and I'm here.
Welcome to Sarganska Osmica. Sarganska Osmica, also known as the Sargan 8, is a historic narrow-gauge railway located in the mountainous region of southwestern Serbia, near the town of Mokra Gora. It is renowned for its unique engineering, scenic beauty and historical significance, making it a remarkable place to visit. The railway is named Sarganska Osmica because of its distinctive looped route that forms a figure 8. This design allows the train to navigate the steep gradient of the Sargan Pass. Built between 1921 and 1925, the railway was a part of the Belgrade-Sarajevo narrow-gauge railway network and is considered an engineering feat of its time. The 15.5-kilometer route passes through stunning landscapes, including dense forests, rocky gorges, and picturesque valleys. The railway played a crucial role in the economic and social development of the region in the early 20th century. It was closed in 1974 due to the decline in narrow-gauge railway usage, but was restored and reopened in around 2003 as a heritage railway, preserving its historical essence. In summary, Sarganska Osmica is a remarkable place to visit due to its unique engineering, stunning scenery, rich history and cultural significance. It provides a memorable journey through one of Serbia's most beautiful regions, making it a must-see attraction for anyone traveling to the country.
That's probably the most unexpected find in this railway. Look at that. This is Chrysler New Yorker on railway wheels, on railway chassis. What's that? I mean, I wonder if it was really in use here or they just put it like the monument for fun. There is some information like its weight is 2.7 tons, blah 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 blah, maximum speed is 60 kilometers per hour. So apparently it used to be the actual railway vehicle here in the past, and currently they just set it up as a monument. You can even see what is inside this car. Look, that's the interior, so the back seat and the front. So as we can see, there is no steering wheel.
Apparently that's the railway museum dedicated to the history of this railway, to this area in general. You can see some historical photographs from the construction of this railway and its development, most likely. If we go further, we'll see some more contemporary pictures of steam locomotives pulling trains. Well, in the past it used to be the major railway link between two parts of Yugoslavia. It connected Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. We come to the 21st century, some modernization of the railway taking place, and the very recent years.
So apparently the train has been prepared for the departure. It's 10 minutes left, so people are taking photos before the departure. But we will also have a lot of stops for photography along the way.
train stops for 10 minutes at the terminal station to change the direction of the locomotive, and then it returns back to Mokra Gora. Here is a small museum with some railway wagons, the steam locomotive. Also I see some tanks, boxcar. Here is the locomotive changing the direction. It's going to couple to the rear of our train and they will go back. We are entering the longest tunnel on this railway, the Sargan tunnel, more than 1.5 kilometers long. So it's 5-minute stops in the most scenic place of the line. From here we can see how the railway goes across mountains. There are 2 tunnels and we will cross both of them on the way back to Mokra Gora. Here is our train, beautiful Romanian locomotive. By the way, this is how the cab looks from the inside. Just made another stop at an intermediate station. There is another panoramic point where you can climb, and that's the reason why the train actually stopped here. So the panoramic viewpoint is situated on the railway station Yatare, which is probably in the middle between Mokra Gora and the terminal station. There are such nice views on the surrounding mountains. Congratulations, we have completed the journey all around Sarganska Osmica, the most well-known Serbian narrow gauge railway. And I think now I should continue my journey by hitchhiking to other places in Serbia. Lovely Serbian souvenirs. What can we find here? T-shirts, the flag. Oh, also souvenirs with Vladimir Putin. No way. Oh well. The Drina River, which divides Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, flows not so far from Sarganska Osmica. One of the most famous places on the river is the house on the Drina, also known as the Drina River House in the town of Bajina Bašta. It is an iconic and picturesque wooden house perched on a rock in the middle of the Drina River. The house was originally built in 1968 by a group of young men seeking a spot to relax and sunbathe. They chose the rock in the river as the perfect location and constructed the house using materials transported by boat and kayak. Over the years, the house has been rebuilt multiple times after being damaged or washed away by the river's strong current and floods. Ova kućica je još na teritoriji Srbije. No, ja znam što to je sredina rijeke, ali čija ona? Kajak klub je u Srbiji, da?
Da, kajak klub je iz Bajine Bašte, ali sad gdje je tačno granica?
Mislim, na primjer, to je legalno, da? Na lotke dojede do kuće od srpskog brega.
Vidi kako ti, ako dolaziš iz Bosne sa čamcem,
tak,
i možeš da ideš tu po vodi, nije nikakav problem.
Aha.
Onog momenta ako izađeš tu na tlo,
da,
onda si napravio prekršaj i policija će te uhapsiti.
Aha, to znači to je legalno dolazi iz Bosne do kuće?
Znači iz Bosne svako ko ima čamac on može da dođe tu, da ide, nije problem.
Da.
Ali onog momenta kad stupi na tlo,
da,
on je napravio prekršaj, ilegalni prelazak.
Aha, to znači sva reka, sve vode je neutralne. Samo vode.
Ja mislim.
To znači ove lodke je legalne.
Da.
I have actually spent a bit more time in Banja Bašta than I expected. Now the plan is to finally move towards Užice and towards Niš.
but there is almost no chances that I will be able to reach Niš today. Ideally, it would be to get at least to some intermediate town on my way to Niš, where I can technically overnight.
I spent the entire evening trying to get to the place where I would spend the night, which I didn't know until the very last moment. Initially, I had planned to spend the night in the town of Požega, not far from Užice, in a place that was suitable for spending the night even in wet weather. However, I didn't manage to get to the train station in Užice by the time the last train to Požega departed. It was still possible to get to Požega by bus, but the price of the bus tickets seemed unreasonably high to me, so I decided to hitchhike towards Požega on a secondary road, because I thought that hitchhiking would work better there in the evening than on the main highway. I walked to the outskirts of Užice, and already there I realized that there was little traffic on the secondary road I needed. In the worst case, I even admitted that I would have to walk to Požega. However, at some point a car stopped in front of me, the driver of which was going not just to Požega, but further on to Belgrade. And I decided to go with him to Belgrade to spend the night in a location I knew.
Good morning. As good as it can be. We are in the secret wagon on the outskirts of Belgrade. It looks so shitty. But actually it's not that bad. There is the place where I slept. Let me tell you that despite this dirt around, it doesn't have any smell. So it was okay.
In the morning, I charged my electronic devices and took the train to the city of Apatin near Niš to begin the final stage of my trip around Serbia.
Hopefully I will leave it as soon as possible, because I don't plan to explore this town. This is just the beginning of the road to Zaječar, the next place that I'm planning to visit. It's around 90 kilometers from here, quite a lot, especially considering evening hours. But I still think that it's doable to reach Zaječar today. My train delayed for half an hour, which is not that bad at all by Serbian standards. The worst delay that I personally experienced in this country was around 70 minutes, so 30 minutes is just fine. I'm currently walking the street that runs parallel to the railway line, and well, there is nothing, absolutely. The walls are painted by some random graffitis and writings, some abandoned buildings. I would assume that concentration of abandoned buildings in Paraćin is slightly bigger than in other places of Serbia. I see a brand new supermarket in Paraćin, which is obviously a good sign, but still I'd rather visit Lidl, which is hundreds of meters away from here. By the way, the Lidl in Paraćin is a right-handed Lidl, which means that bakery is on the right side from the entrance. I've just got a couple of donuts. I will take this toast sandwich. It expires in, well, a couple of days. Still have some time. And supposedly it's going to be my dinner. I got the yogurt sandwich, some iced coffee, flavored water, and a couple of donuts. All in all, it cost me almost 600 dinars, which is like 5.5 euros. I'm glad that I found Lidl here in Paraćin, because Lidl is my favorite supermarket, chain supermarket in Serbia. Just finished my sandwich. Well, not going to finish the coffee, it's nice, but I will save it for the evening. And yeah, so let's go further. Okay, I have just got to Zaječar. We are currently in eastern Serbia, and actually it was pretty easy to get here. Hitchhiking worked pretty well. Look at the cyberpunk. This is the massive football stadium just behind me in the middle of the field. I don't know why, but it looks surreal, because actually Zaječar is a pretty remote place by Serbian standards. It is situated outside the main highway, and also Zaječar is the homeland of Zaječarske beer. There it is, I have already got one bottle. So the plan is pretty simple: to visit just one monument that I marked on the map, finish this bottle of beer, and to find a safe place to sleep, to wake up early in the morning and carry on the journey.
I'm officially the professional time killer, guys. I started testing local beer at 9 and currently the time is 11 p.m.
Which means that it's entirely dark outside.
peach black. So I decided to go to sleep right now. This is the basketball field. So I basically hope that no one decides to play basketball or football in the middle of the night. So this is my travel mat. I'm not even using the sleeping bag because the night is supposed to be warm. So just going to sleep this way, wake up early in the morning at around 5 and then visit the monument. Okay, cool. Local time is 5 a.m. and it's time to get up. It's time to bring my ass further. Actually, no one visited me today, so it's fine.
So there it is, the spomenik of Zaječar, also known as the gallows, pre-inclined gallows that commemorate the memory of fallen fighters of this area who were hung by Nazi forces in times of the occupation of Zaječar. I'm trying to jump on this construction and it reflects my movement a little bit, which means that the whole construction is kind of flexible. So yeah, that's it. I mean, the monuments seem to be relatively abundant as other monuments in former Yugoslavia, but it's still frequently visited. It is how it is. Here is the forest that splits this park with the city. Now I have to go to the city to take a train from here. That was the only reason why I came to Zaječar, to see this monument. An ordinary street of Zaječar, which is being reconstructed. It's close to Bulgarian border, so we're in eastern Serbia right now. I've crossed the whole city, haven't found anything interesting to show you. Just approaching the railway station, and I think that's it for Zaječar. The only attraction here was the monument. As the railway station of Zaječar, I see 3 trains. Now I have to guess which one runs towards where I need. I also heard that there must be some kind of reconstruction of the railway, so possibly trains do not run at all. Dalje do Rajeca saobraćaje voz ili autobus? Autobus, da? A on odlazi od ovdje, da? Aha, dobro. I on jede preko Rajac. Dobro, dobro. A kupuju online? Online. Da, hvala, hvala. So I have just discovered that trains do not run actually, so we'll have to take a bus which is going to depart from the square near the railway station. The great advantage that even if there is no train and you take a bus instead of the train, you can still take a bus using the railway ticket. And the advantage of this fact is just because railway tickets are way cheaper than buses. So we're currently in a random village in Zaječar district. We're going to visit one interesting location. I have been walking up the hill for the last 30 minutes and I've reached the pivnica, or basically wine cellars. But wine cellars is not what I'm looking for here actually. I'm going to a peculiar cemetery which must be situated nearby, with unusual tombs. It actually looks like a medieval town somewhere in Italy, yet completely deserted. Oh yeah, I see the car, so this area is definitely inhabited. A lot of stones have carving in form of a spinning wheel, or basically swastika, which acquired a negative connotation only in the middle of the 20th century because it became a Nazi symbol. Before, it was just a religious symbol that can be found in the history and culture of different nations. Each monument, from the smallest to the largest, is decorated and carved with symbols in the form of semicircles, circles, crescents, trees, triangles, snakes and crosses. Each symbol has its own meaning, starting from the passing of time, the continuous cycle of life and death, up to the solar cycle, spring and summer. As you can see, many tombs have the big stone on their top. And that's interesting because when I saw graves of some Russian old believers, they also had some kind of the roof on top of the cross, which kinda symbolized the house. Some gravestones barely exist. They're almost collapsed, I think naturally. Wow, the snail. The final part of my journey involved driving along Dunavska Magistrala, aka the Danube Highway, a mountain road in Serbia that ran along the Danube and the border with Romania. There were several places of interest along the Danube Highway that I was planning to visit. But it was not that simple. In reality, there was very little traffic on the eastern section of the highway, and hitchhiking there was worse than the average in Serbia. Anyway, by mid-afternoon I reached the Đerdap border crossing. The border crossing was located on the territory of a hydroelectric power plant, and on both sides of the plant there were mountains. On one of these mountains, a monument to Marshal Tito, the president of Yugoslavia, was inconspicuously located.
There it is, guys! I have found the secret monument to Marshal Tito. Secret just because it's not seen from the road, which is behind the bushes. But at the same time, it's visible from Romania, which is behind the river, behind Danube. This monument was erected here in Serbia in 1980, soon after the death of Marshal Tito, to create the memory of him at this point. It consists of huge concrete pad illustrating Yugoslavian flag and 4 letters saying Tito, like the surname of Marshal, with a smaller Yugoslavian flag. It all faces Romania. Currently this monument is basically abandoned, but still I believe it's a nice hidden gem here in Serbia. Generally speaking, the road along Danube on Serbian side is dead. At the same time, I clearly hear the highway on Romanian side. So there are hundreds of times more cars than here, literally. Okay, I finally managed to catch a car towards Belgrade. Hopefully in a couple of hours I will reach the Golubac fortress. Currently we see the boat straight where the border is between 2 countries. This is Danube, over there is Romania, here we are in Serbia. Such a beauty. And this is the Danube Highway. That's a random gasoline station, and look what I found. They're literally selling Russian ice cream at this point, because this is kind of the rebranded version of Gazprom gasoline station, like the Serbian department of Gazprom. That's why you can find some Russian products here. And especially popular is this sort of thing. It's like the sirok, so basically the sweet made of cottage cheese. I actually used to eat it in Russia, but here you can find it nowhere aside from these gasoline stations. And the last but not least attraction that I was going to visit during my trip around Serbia is Golubac fortress. Incredible fortress on the bank of Danube River, which faces Romania. We are still following the border between 2 countries. I'm a little bit late today here, so the entrance to the fortress is already closed. It was closed an hour ago, but still we can enjoy such a lovely view of the fortress. I don't know much about the history of this fortress, but it's probably the most fascinating location on this Danube highway. For the grand final of the journey, I decided to climb on top of the hill with the panoramic view on the Golubac fortress as one of the most remarkable places in this trip. So let's enjoy it together. Enjoy some more Danube wind generations in Romania. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, leave your comments and opinions.
Also, I appreciate if you become my patron on patreon.com. On my Patreon, I publish videos and photos from my travels that are unavailable on YouTube, including old and new train hopping content. Other ways of supporting me are listed in the description of this video. See ya!